right, so good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse, and I am your virtual adventure guide here with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. Now, it has been a whirlwind, a crazy few weeks to start the school year, and I want to say a huge thank you to all you teachers for joining us as we continue to showcase and celebrate such amazing people and places around the globe. We've done everything from space to conservation in East Africa to hanging out with world-class adventurers, and today, we keep the fun going here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants with one of our very favorite speakers that we ever bring on the broadcast, and that is James Ketchell. So James is going to share a little bit of his story personally today. I know we've got a lot of new students that have never heard from him before, so he's going to do a little bit of an overview of a life of pure adventure. He has done some of the most outstanding feats in human exploration over the last 5 years. Basically, every time we talk to James, he's just wrapping up a past expedition and just about to set off on another incredible journey. And so I'm so excited to introduce you to him to share a little bit about all the things he's been up to over the last many years. So without further ado, James, thank you so much for joining us today, man.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're well. It is an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you this morning. I'm always working on something. So I think what I'm going to do, compared to all you guys who are sitting in this classroom watching and listening to this, I'm a little bit older than you guys. I'm unfortunately now a little bit of a dinosaur. So because I'm a little bit of a dinosaur and a bit older than you guys, that means I've been on a lot of different adventures and had a lot of different experiences. And so what I'm going to do is share some stories of fun and adventure. And I'm going to share some things that I think might be useful that I've learned that I can pass down to you guys. So in order to do that, I actually need to share the screen first. So otherwise you'll be
the ultimate computer adventure.
Otherwise you'll be looking at my ugly mug. You don't want to do that. So 2 seconds, guys. We're almost there. Here we go. Play from the start. Here we go. Boom. All right. We need to move this little thing out of the way.
Fantastic. Let's go, man.
All right. So, guys, in order for me to share these stories with you, I actually have to turn the clocks back 15 years before probably most of you watching this were even born. So 15 years ago, I used to race bikes. That's me. That's on a Kawasaki ZX6 Ninja. It's a fast bike, guys. It would max out at 175 miles per hour. So it was fast. And I raced most weekends. This is what I really enjoyed. And I actually was quite competitive. I wanted to win all the time. But I can tell you one thing. It doesn't matter who you are because no one wins all the time. Trust me. And when you're on two wheels and you're trying to go as fast as you can, one of two things will happen. You'll either win or you'll crash trying. And unfortunately, I used to crash quite a bit. But you wear this leather suit here. So the idea is when you fall off the bike, it stops you from losing all your skin. It's very useful. Trust me, guys. So one particular time, I was in second place. I was chasing someone. As I came out the corner, the bike was leant over, very similar to what you can see here. And as I came out the corner, I opened up the throttle so I could go a little, basically so I'd go faster and catch the person that was getting away from me. But I went a little bit too fast and the rear wheel span up. It lost grip. So the back of the bike came round on me and it threw me over the top of the handlebars at just over 100 miles an hour. Now, I'm sure many of you who are watching this have probably fallen off your bike before, but I doubt many of you have fallen off a bike at over 100 miles an hour. And I remember it was like slow motion. That's what it felt like. It's because my senses were massively heightened. I remember flying through the air, looking back at the bike. And I had one thought going through my head. And I thought to myself, oh dear, this is gonna hurt. I hit the ground and I was knocked out. And I then remember waking up and a doctor came running over to me. And he looked at me. My visor had been ripped off my helmet where my head had hit the floor. And he looked into my eyes and he said, are you okay? And I said, my leg hurts. And I'll never forget it. He went from looking into my eyes to looking down at my leg and he paused and he went, ooh. And trust me, guys, when a doctor does that, it's never a good sign. He then looked back up into my eyes and he said to me, whatever you do, don't look down. Now, what are you going to do when you're told not to do something? Most of you are probably going to do it anyway. So, of course, I looked down and instead of my right foot pointing forwards, I'd snapped my ankle and so my foot was pointing backwards. And guys, it hurt that little bit more looking at it. But I was quite pleased. I felt like I still had a sense of humor in the face of adversity. When the doctor slid the boot off, I had an open fracture, so the skin had split and the bone was sticking out, and it was bleeding heavily. And the first thing that came into my mind, I said to the doctor, I said, "Wow, have you got a phone or a camera? Wouldn't that make a great picture?" He said, "Stop being such a stupid boy." And I said, "Okay, I'm sorry." And then after that, I don't remember anything. I just remember waking up in hospital. I hadn't just snapped my ankle. I'd broken my legs, broken my arm, my hand, and I fractured my lower back. So guys, this was a big problem. But when I got into hospital, I realized something. I thought, I can't turn time back. There's no point feeling sorry for myself. This has happened now. There's no point crying about it. I can't do anything. What I can do is just try and be positive moving forwards. And I thought I needed something to aim for. I needed something to look forward to. And when I was a similar age to I think you guys are, who are listening to this, I had a dream, and I learned about this when I was very young. I thought, wouldn't it be a great idea to row a boat across the Atlantic Ocean? I thought about it all the time. And the adventure of doing something like that just really appealed to me and was really exciting. And for many years, I wanted to do this, but I never had the guts to do it. I was worried about what other people thought of me. I didn't know if I could do it. And when I was younger, I didn't really believe in myself. And I made a decision that lying in that hospital bed, I was going to get better, and I was going to row a boat across the Atlantic. It gave me something to focus on. And 2 years after that accident, there I am about to row into Antigua after having rowed across the Atlantic. I know it doesn't really look like me anymore. My hair goes blonde and my beard goes bright ginger. But we know that ginger's cool. There's bound to be some ginger people in the classes listening to this. So usually you would do this as a 2-man or a 4-man, sometimes even a 10-man crew. And I wanted to do this with someone else, but unfortunately no one would do it with me. So guys, I had no choice but to do it on my own. But it was probably the best decision I ever made, to be honest. I could talk to you all day about being out here. It was fantastic. A lot of crazy things happened. I was hit in the face. Here's a little bit of video footage, guys, that I'll share with you. Hopefully it plays okay. I was hit in the face by a flying fish, which sounds crazy. And flying fish really do fly, trust me. There were oceanic white-tip sharks that would swim up to the side of the boat. I saw giant turtles, and I saw huge, big fin whales, which are the length of a bus. They are absolutely huge. And it was just magical. I rode like this for 12 hours a day, which sounds like a lot, but it's not that difficult. Every single one of you sitting here looking at this right now could get in a boat and row across the Atlantic. And if you're not a very good rower, don't worry. You've got 3,000 miles to learn. You're going to get really good. Trust me. But there was if there's one thing I can share with you guys that I learned off the back of this. For many, many years, I wanted to do this, but I was too scared to do it. But when I got out here, I realized something. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And I did manage to do it. And it turns out that I would have been perfectly capable of doing it all those years that I wanted to do this, but I didn't believe in myself. I was too scared. I was nervous. It turns out I had no reason to be. I would have been completely capable of doing it. And it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And I think for me, the biggest thing I took away from rowing the Atlantic is never, ever be afraid of trying new things. When you think something is going to be difficult, when you think something's going to be hard, it will not be as hard and as difficult as you think, and you will be able to do it. That is the biggest takeaway from rowing across the Atlantic. And this is all I ever wanted to do, guys. I never had any dreams to do anything else. But when you work hard, there has to be an action to get a reaction. When you work hard, doors of opportunity will just naturally open for you. And off the back of rowing across the Atlantic, I spent 110 days in this boat here. And off the back of this, an opportunity opened up for me. And a year later, I ended up climbing the world's highest mountain, Mount Everest. Now, I didn't even know if I could do it, but I didn't know if I could row across the Atlantic, and I managed to do it. And I thought, I don't even know if I can do this, but I'm never going to get this opportunity again. And so I want to take it. And I made a decision that if I couldn't climb Mount Everest, but I went out there and I tried, that's good enough for me. The worst thing you can ever do is look back with regret because you didn't try, you didn't take the opportunity. There is nothing wrong with things not working out if you try. And so I decided this is what I was going to do. And the hardest part, guys, by a long way, was raising all the money that I needed to pay for the trip. I had to write letters, thousands of letters to companies to try and get them to sponsor me and help me. And it was demoralizing. No one really wanted to help. And I spent literally half a year every day sending letters out. And I can tell you one thing, guys, if you are determined to make something happen, you are determined to do something, and you don't ever give up, you just keep going. By default, in the end, you will get what it is that you want. And I had 1 week left before I had to pay the bill, and I managed to get the money to get out to Everest. So it was, and it's funny because the email, actually, it was the email that I sent when I didn't feel like doing it that got me the sponsorship and got me the money. So if you can develop the ability to do things when you don't feel like doing them, that will stand you in really good stead. Now, I've got this slide up here because a lot of people ask me how you go about climbing Mount Everest. And the honest answer is it's so big, you have to break it down. You can only climb, well, you can climb from two sides, the south side via Nepal, which is what you're looking at now, or the north side via Tibet. I climb from the south side via Nepal. So you've got base camp, you have camp 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the summit. And that's the only way you can climb this mountain. It's all broken down. But you actually have to go up and down multiple times before you can make it to the summit. And that's the only way you can do it. There's no shortcut to the top of the world. So, there's no shortcut to anything worth having. That I can absolutely tell you. So I'll give you a very quick tour of Everest. This is the Khumbu Icefall. This is low down. This is the most dangerous part. This is dangerous because it's this huge mass of ice that's moving and shifting, opens up these huge holes. And we've got to get across them over these ladders. It's not a very good idea to look down. As you can see, it's a long way. And some of these ladders get quite long, like this one here. Guys, I was nervous going across this. As you can see, look, the ladder is bouncing up and down, buckling and twisting from side to side. Everyone is watching me, and I'm thinking this is the worst place to get stuck or fall off. But these ladders taught me something. If you can develop the ability to stay calm when you're nervous, when you're afraid, when you're scared, even when you're angry, that ability to stay calm will really stand you in good stead, guys. So the next time you're frustrated or you're a little bit anxious, just stay calm, cool, composed and calm, and you'll be okay. And I had to cross this ladder 7 or 8 times. And by the end of it, it was easy. It was tricky to begin with. But once I'd crossed this a few times, it was easy. So remember, guys, when you're trying new things, maybe it's in the class or maybe it's at home or outside, if it's difficult to begin with, it doesn't mean it's going to stay difficult. You just have to keep practicing. By default, it will absolutely get easier. You've got to work as a team, though, guys. I cannot emphasize this enough. As you grow up and you move into the working world, it's critical that you're able to develop the ability to work with other people, okay? Just like you guys do, you work together in the class on your different tables. But as you get older, it's even more important to be able to work with other people. You can't climb Everest on your own. You've got to have a support team around you. And that's the same, really, if you want to achieve anything. If you look at the best athletes, they might be on the track or in the swimming pool on their own, but they'll have a whole team of people around them. And that's how you get things done, is working with other people. That's not a very good picture of me. That's when I just got back down to base camp, having stood on top of the world. It was quite difficult. So this is camp 2 here. I'm going to go up a bit higher. We're at camp 4 now, so we're using supplementary oxygen. Just makes things that little bit easier. Then we climb through the night. So we're going to arrive on top in the morning, get back down in the daylight. And this is what it's like to stand on top of the world. So if I was to pick all of you guys up now that are watching this, put you on top of Mount Everest, this is what you would see. We're looking south now out over Nepal. India is in the distance. These are prayer flags that you're looking at. The prayer flags are taken to the top by the locals. They believe, the local Sherpas, they believe that their prayers and their dreams are carried in the wind. They're very spiritual people. But when I stood on top of the world, I realized something, guys. You haven't done it at all. You're in fact only halfway. You still have to get down. And getting down is considerably harder than going up. And when I stood on top of the world, I stood there for about 15 minutes, and that was just enough time to do a bit of filming and take some pictures. And this is my favorite photo, guys. I'm holding the Nepalese flag, and you'll be interested to see the shape of it. It's the only flag that's not shaped like as a rectangle. They have their own unique shape. But that could be anyone. But just to prove that's me, the ginger beard comes back, and there you go. I look pretty old in this pic. I was only 29 years old actually, but I look like I'm 59, don't I? In this clip. There's nothing wrong with being 59, though, obviously. So on the way back down, guys, I was really poorly. I didn't know, but I had a bad lung infection. I was finding it hard to breathe. And on the way back down, it took a lot longer to get back down than I anticipated. And when I got back down, I was taken to hospital. And that's when I was told I had pneumonia, which is a bad lung infection. And so that's the last thing you want when you're up high on Mount Everest. But luckily, that concept of just keep moving, even though I was going slow, in my mind, I knew if I kept moving, I'd be okay. And I did manage to get back down. When I was lying in that hospital bed, I had one thought going through my head, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be a great idea to cycle around the world? So a year later, guys, I set out from London, from a place called Greenwich Park. It's where time starts, Greenwich Mean Time. And all my friends joined me on the first day. It was amazing. But then they disappeared and I was on my own. So I cycled out down to the coast into France, through Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Czech Republic, Poland, Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, into India. This is the famous Taj Mahal. It's one of the 7 wonders of the world. So maybe you can find out what the other 6 are at some point when you have some time. I wanted to meet as many people as I could, so I stopped and spoke in schools. This is the bike that I used, guys. It was it's all that I carried for half a year. It took half a year to get around the world. And so this is really all that I had. There was no one in a car following me, fixing my bike when it broke, or buying me McDonald's when I was hungry. I had to do all of that myself, and that's what made it a bit harder. After this photo was taken in Malaysia, and after that I headed to Australia, to Perth, and I had to get from the west coast to the east coast. And trust me, there is a whole lot of nothing in the middle of Australia. There's only one road, so you'd have to be pretty stupid to get lost. You just keep going. About 6 weeks later, I'd arrived on the east coast in Sydney, and then up to Brisbane, and then I flew to one of my favorite cities, San Francisco. I then cycled down to LA and started to make my way across to the East Coast. Now, when you're cycling around the world, you need to eat a lot of food, trust me. But that's not a problem in America. It's the best place in the world for eating lots of food. But luckily, I was cycling every day, so I needed the energy and I was burning it off. But I had a bit of a problem. The day after I was taking this photo, I was cycling along and I was chewing a sweet, and it cracked my tooth in half. It was really painful, guys. I had to see a dentist. And in America, you have to pay. It's not free like it is here. And so I found a dentist in a city some of you may be very familiar with, called El Paso, which is in Texas. And the dentist said, yeah, I can help you. And the dentist, I'll never forget this. He did something for me. He was very kind. He said to me, hey, James, I like what you're doing. You're cycling around the world. You're raising money for a charity that look after young children, and you're sharing your journey with people. I think it's pretty cool. And he said, I'm going to give this treatment to you. It's going to be free. You don't have to worry about paying for it. And I was so relieved because I'd pretty much run out of money at this point. And you know what, guys? When I cycled around the world, It didn't matter what country I passed through. It didn't matter what language people spoke. It didn't matter what skin color people had. Everyone was so good to me. They were so kind. I will be playing forward favors for the rest of my life. I really will. And I took a photo of everyone that I came in contact with who was good to me, who helped me. And this is what the dentist looks like. But it's very difficult smiling when half your teeth have just been drilled, as you can see. And I carried on, and about 2 weeks later, I arrived in Florida, in Miami. Then I flew to Lisbon in Portugal, and then I cycled all the way back up to London, and I cycled the whole way around the world. And I remember when I crossed the finish line, it was quite a surreal day for me, because I remember looking back to when I was lying in that hospital bed with broken bones, and the doctor said, "Hey, you may not be able to do some of the things that you would like to do. Maybe you have to readjust your mind and reset some of your expectations." But guys, when someone tells you you can't do something, and if you really want it enough and you don't ever give up, you'll always get where you want in the end. You'll have things go wrong along the way. I'll tell you about them now. But if you do not stop, you will get what you want, honestly, guys. And probably one of the most important things I learned as I was traveling around the world is if you treat people in a way that you would like to be treated, you will be amazed at the things that come your way. You really will. And so talking about this and things not always going your way, I worked on a project after I got back from cycling around the world. And that was to row a boat across the Indian Ocean with this chap here. His name's Ash. He's an amazing guy. He had a great story himself. And just to cut a massively long story short, we were almost halfway across. Oh, well, not quite, but we were quite a long way out into the Indian Ocean. Okay, so we started from Western Australia, and our mission was to row to Mauritius. And unfortunately, we got caught in quite a big storm. Our boat rolled over, Ash hit his head, and we had to be rescued. And it was extremely demoralizing. I've never, ever had anything go wrong until this point. And this was all over TV. Everyone knew that we'd been rescued, and I was really upset. This is me climbing up the side of the ship that rescued us. This was extremely scary, probably the scariest situation I've ever been in my life. But something really interesting happened, guys. I was so fed up. I was really upset that we'd been rescued. I felt like I'd lost all my credibility. But actually, where we were on TV the whole way around the world, lots of people knew about this. So people were ringing me up saying, "Hey, were you the guy that was on TV? You were the guy that was rescued in the Indian Ocean, right?" And I'd say, "Yeah, that was me." And they'd say, "Great. Can you come and speak at our event? We want to know what this is like." So off the back of something really disappointing happening, some really good things came my way. You won't see them off at the time. You'll only see them looking back. But the next time something happens to you that's disappointing, maybe you don't get picked for a football team, maybe you don't get the grades that you want, don't worry. There'll be another chance to try again, and you will learn something. And one of the things I've realized, guys, there will always be something good that comes off the back of something disappointing that happens to you. You will grow as a person, and there will be something good that happens. So remember that. So off the back of this being rescued, guys, I ended up working on a TV show in the Amazon jungle. It was amazing. And this opportunity came off the back of something disappointing happening, which I didn't want to happen. And then I had another opportunity across the Atlantic again, this time in a pedalo. And then I worked on another project. I've always had an interest in aviation. And I wanted to learn how to fly helicopters, but to be honest, I couldn't afford it. It was too expensive. So I learned how to fly gyrocopters. They look like helicopters. They operate in a different way, and they're a lot cheaper. And I realized that no one had flown one of these around the world. And I thought, wow, that would be an incredible adventure. And a lot of people told me I was crazy. How on earth could I fly something like this around the world? But my mind works slightly differently. I thought to myself, why can't I do it? What would stop me? If I was to fly just one flight a day, that's all I have to do, one flight a day, and just keep going every day, there's no reason why I can't get around the world if I break it down. And so 3 years ago, guys, I set out from England, from my hometown, which is called Basingstoke. That's where I live. And lots of people came along to wave me off. I flew over France into Germany. I had to go and see one of my sponsors. So these are people that help sponsor the trip, and they have much bigger planes than I do, as you can see. And they have much bigger engines than I do, as you can see. And from there, I flew up into Poland, into Lithuania, then into Russia. Actually, a lot of this was 3 years ago, so there was not much going on there. But the people that I met were incredibly polite, respectful, and friendly towards me. And they were constantly trying to give me gifts. This wasn't much use. A frozen fish and some whiskey. I don't drink alcohol, and I didn't need a frozen fish. But it was the thought that counts. They were being good to me. I carried on flying. It's an open cockpit aircraft, so there's no better way to fly. It's amazing. It's like being in a flying motorbike, guys. And it's very, very easy to fly. Every single one of you sitting here, listening to this and watching this, could fly this aircraft with a little bit of practice. It's not difficult. And I carried on. I gave a talk in a school in a city called Yakutsk in Siberia. And actually, these guys, they don't speak English and I don't speak Russian. So we had to talk through a translator. And I realized something. These guys are the same as you guys. They'll ask the same questions. They'll be interested in the same things. They just speak a different language. That is the only difference. And they live on the other side of the world. But I had an amazing day with these guys. So I carried on flying. It started to get quite cold. The further north and the further east I flew. What a lot of people don't realize is America is like only 45 miles from Russia. So I flew across the Bering Straits and landed in Alaska, flew all the way down through Alaska, Canada. And there we have the famous Golden Gate Bridge. And an opportunity came my way on this day. The sun was shining, the winds were light. And I thought, I'm never, ever going to be here again. So I have to take advantage of this and do it now. And everyone in life will have opportunities, but you have to be ready for them. So there was a great day. I then had to fly across to the East Coast. And you all know where that is. And I have to say, my time in America was amazing. I didn't just fly from the West Coast to the East Coast. I actually zigzagged the whole way across, and I landed in every mainland state. I landed in all 49 American states. It was absolutely awesome. And so from this point here, I flew up into Canada and then up to Baffin Island, actually. Then across to Greenland, then to Iceland, and then to the Faroe Islands, and then back down to where I started, and I'd flown the whole way around the world. And I believe I was able to get around the world, guys, because I wasn't afraid to try something new. I wasn't afraid to ask for help if I needed help. Don't be afraid, just ask. There will always be people out there that will help you if you ask. When I had a problem, I didn't blame anyone else. I stayed positive. I tried to sort it out. When I met people, I treated them in a way that I would like to be treated. And I believe that helped me considerably. And I made a decision that I wasn't going to give up. And luckily, I got around the whole way around the world and I set a Guinness World Record. And then I worked on another project actually earlier this year to ski across the Greenland Ice Cap. Greenland's an incredible place. It's the largest island on Earth. It's not actually a continent. It's part of the North American continent, actually. But the trip didn't get off to a particularly good start, guys. The leader who was leading our expedition, unfortunately, slipped. His name is Mikkel. He's an amazing man. Unfortunately, he slipped and hurt his head on the second day. And a helicopter came in to get us, to get him, to airlift him out. But when the helicopter came in, it blew all our tents to pieces. So this is me trying to hold all our tents down in a 100-mile-an-hour downdraft while the helicopter hovered above us. And so this didn't get off to a particularly good start. But Luckily, Mikkel was okay. We managed to gather up our things and we didn't lose any kit and nothing was damaged. So guys, it's always possible to win back the day. Just because you haven't had a good start, do not worry. It wasn't the end. This was only day 2. So we carried on. And this is a great picture and video actually of what Greenland looks like in the middle. It's flat, desolate. It's extremely cold. Depending on what time of year you are there, it can be between -20 down to -30, 40. And this is us skiing along and we're pulling our pulks. And these have our tents inside and all of our kit. Without them, we wouldn't be able to survive. And you can see how we're just skiing along. It's an incredible place. But it's not always windy. Sometimes it's nice. There you go. This is a really super nice day. And it was 24-hour light as well. Obviously, it's very close to the North Pole. We started in the Arctic Circle. And so obviously when the Earth is tilted towards the sun, in the summer, it's 24-hour daylight. So this was, I think, taken at 1 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, it was a fantastic trip, guys. I could talk to you all day about it. This is where the helicopter, I think, comes in and gets us. We needed, and there you go. So, guys, there's a little bit of an overview on some things that I've achieved, and I just want to leave with a few closing words, and then we can do some questions for a bit. And that is today. I've just shared my stories with you. That's really it. Where are we? Jesse, you still there, bud?
Oh yeah, still here.
Let me just get StreamYard back up. Here we go. Here we go.
Here we
Guys, these are just my stories. That's all they are. And I think the thing that really gets me excited is every single one of you sitting there, listening to this, watching this, you have your own stories and they're out there waiting for you. And I know we may have just come off some quite difficult times, where everyone was locked down for a while. There was a lot of uncertainty. People were forced to be resilient. But there's still so much opportunity in this world. There's so many amazing things you can do. And actually, one of the things I realized, if someone else is doing it, it means you can do it too. It really does. And a lot of you who are sitting, watching this, I know for a fact you're going to be sitting in a lovely school. You're going to probably have some of the best teachers in the world that are looking after you every day. They turn up every day to help you. So never, ever waste that opportunity. When you're old like me, if you want to learn something, you have to pay people. So I don't get the chance to go to school anymore. So I want to learn new things. I have to find someone to teach me and pay them. But you guys don't get that. You still have this incredible opportunity in front of you. So don't waste a single day. When you turn up at school, treat people in a way you'd like to be treated and just try your best. And if you do that, you'll never go wrong. Everything will come good for you guys. It really will. And I just want you to know there really is there's so many good people in this world that will help you. And there is a lot of opportunity out there. And it just depends whether you have the right attitude, you stay positive, and you're prepared to make an effort. And you will get out what you put in. I promise you that, all right? So, guys, there you go. Look, I've been speaking for a good half an hour now. So why don't we do some questions? And if there's anything you'd like to ask me, go ahead.
James, as always, what a fantastic program, and it's so nice to see a little bit of the new footage from the Greenland expedition too. That's one of the wildest shots I've ever seen, and I'm glad you maintained your tent on day 2 there. That was makes for a difficult expedition if you can't pull that off. So, as you said, let's dive in with questions. We got a bunch of YouTube classes as well, but I'm going to start with this writer's class joining us in Baltimore. If you guys want to unmute your mic and come on in for our first question, you're good to go. Hey, guys.
How long did it take you to climb Mount Everest?
Hey, buddy. Okay, so I will answer that question. In total, it takes about 6 weeks to climb Mount Everest, because when you get out to Nepal, it takes 10 days to trek up to Everest Base Camp. And then when you're at Everest Base Camp, it's not a simple process of just climbing from base camp to the top. We have to go up and down, up and down. to allow our bodies to adjust to the lower levels of oxygen. So in total, from leaving my house to coming back to my house takes about 6 weeks. But once you've gone through all the acclimatization climbs of going up and down, it will take you about 4 days to go from base camp to the summit. And it usually takes about 2 days to get down. So I hope that answers your question and you understand how that works.
Yeah, fantastic, man. Let's head to Miss Maxwell's class, DeWitt Middle School. If you guys want to come on in, you're good to go. Hi, Michigan. Hi, are you there? We can come back. I know we've got classes switching over right now, so I'll come back and check in with you guys in a sec. But let's head to Miss Ross's class in Tavistock while we're waiting. Hey guys, welcome in.
My name is Riley, and my question is, what are you gonna do next? And if so, are you gonna do anything next?
Yeah, what's next?
Okay, hello, Riley. I hope you guys are well this morning. Yes, I absolutely have another project. So I've already cycled around the world. So would you agree that that's on land? Yeah, I guess it is, right? And I've already flown around the world. So would you agree that's air? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I still have one left. So next year, all being well, I will be sailing around the whole world, and I'll be stopping off as I go, giving talks in schools. So that's what I'm working on next. I'm working on a project to sail the whole way around the world. It's a big project, but I think if I break it down and take it one day at a time, and it just becomes a bit more manageable. So yeah, there we go. You guys can follow that.
You do realize that after this, you only have space left, right? Or like the bottom of the ocean, like just like going along in one of those like scuba suits at the seafloor. We'll figure that out.
Never say never, right? You just
yeah. I mean, there you go. Great question, guys, and that answered a bunch of questions from YouTube as well. Let's head to our Hickson Grade 6 crew. If you guys have one,
Come on up.
Welcome in.
Yeah, I have a student just coming up to ask.
Hey, guys.
How long did it take for you to go across the world?
Yes.
Hey, Paige. Okay, good question. So when I cycled around the world, it took 6 months. Actually, no, apologies. It took 7 months. So it took just over half a year, actually. And when I flew the little aircraft around the world, it took 175 days to get around the world. And at some point, I would have landed in your state that you're in right now. So there you go.
Very cool. Miss McNamara coming in Sauble Beach. If you guys have one for us, unmute your mic. You're good to go. Hello.
All right. I have some students here online.
Perfect.
And Tyler would like to know if you've ever seen a pit viper or maybe any other really unusual animals.
Cool.
Hey, Tyler. Okay, have I ever seen a pit viper? I have not, but I have swam with caiman, which are like crocodiles, in the Amazon River, and they didn't bother me. It wasn't too scary. I was quite scared at first, but the locals said, "Don't worry, they're not going to attack you." So I have seen some quite interesting animals. Probably the most unusual situation was when I was hit in the face by a flying fish. I wasn't expecting that to happen. But yeah, I've seen all sorts of wild and wonderful things, but I haven't seen one of those.
Well, maybe on your sailing around the world, you get to somewhere, you'll see one of those cool.
I have seen. I'll tell you what, everyone seems to really like. I have seen pink dolphins, and everyone loves the pink dolphins.
Where did you see the pink dolphins?
In the Amazon. They're in the Amazon River. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Our crew in Hagersville, if you guys want to flick on your mic, I can come to you live for a question in just a second. Oh, there we go. Welcome in. 5 6s. Hi.
How old were you when you sailed across the Atlantic Ocean?
How old was I when I sailed across the Atlantic Ocean? I was 26 years old. So I can tell by looking at you, you've got a few years left. But the good news is the Atlantic Ocean is waiting for you. It's not going anywhere. And do you want to know something? I know a lot of girls who have rowed across the Atlantic, and they are extremely strong. And so there are many girls that row the Atlantic and climb Everest and fly as well. So there you go. You can do it one day.
Fantastic. We're going to take one from YouTube, Miss Dykstra's class. So I want you to know, James, that Miss Dykstra's class comes in for almost every second presentation we have. They are here all the time, and they wanted to just highlight that it was a really incredible presentation today, which does not happen very often from them. But they do want to know, how do you afford all these adventures? You talked about raising money and phoning people and emailing people. How do you make this happen?
Okay, that's a really good question. How do I afford to make this happen? So I put a proposal together. Okay, so you guys who are in school, it's really important that you work on your reading and your writing skills, because you've got to be able to communicate to people. So what I do is I work on a proposal and I put together, I outline something called, what I call the 4 W's, which is what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Which is the most important. What can I give and what would I like? So I talk about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and then I try and effectively sell the idea of sponsorship packages to companies, and they will benefit from working with me, and I'll do certain things for it. So in order to do it, I have to raise the money to make these things happen. And that's how I afford to do it. I wish I could have just afford to do it and pay with my own money, but sadly I can't. But if you want something enough, you'll always find a way. And there's like I said, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And if you keep asking and you don't ever stop, someone will sponsor you. I can tell you that.
Endless sort of going for it will lead to good results. And that's a theme that underscores your entire talk. I actually want to stress personally for our students today, we have a lot of adventures on, and there's no shame in being the sort of person that wants to chase records or wants to just be the first. But one thing that really sets James apart, and I've always loved this in his presentations, is that he always goes to classes everywhere he goes. So as many people as possible get to learn about these ideas, these places, these stories, and everything you do is to help raise money for charity. So every time you go anywhere or do anything, you are helping give back. And I think that's such a positive thing, that no matter what endeavor you enter upon in your life as students, whether you end up being an adventurer like James or whatever you do, you can do that with the mindset of giving back to people, whether it's through education or money or what have you. And I think that's a really positive thing. So kudos to you for all of that work, James.
Thank you.
Really, it's noteworthy. Do you have time for another round of questions? We might go a little bit long, but we'll be rebels together. Perfect. Okay, well, Miss Ryder's class, come on in Baltimore again and take us away. Hey, guys.
Go ahead, Reed.
How much fuel did you need for flying around the world in a gyrocopter?
Okay, that's a good question. How much fuel did I need for flying around the world in a gyrocopter? So every day I used, about 100 liters, and I was away for 175 days. So I used quite a lot. So you can work it out. So 100 liters times 175. So there you go, quite a bit.
We'll work on that throughout the presentation. But great question, guys. Miss Ross's class, I'm going to come to you next. DeWitt Middle School. I know we had a bit of a class change over there. If you do have a question, I'll come to you after to see if you have one for James. But Miss Ross, come on in and tap us talk first. Hey, guys.
Hi, I'm Isaac. And did you ever conquer any avalanches while climbing Everest? And if you did, how many?
Hey, that's a good question. Well, no one really ever conquers avalanches. It's really, are you lucky enough to survive if you get caught in an avalanche? But I was really lucky. I never got caught in an avalanche. I saw avalanches that happened in the distance, and you can feel the vibration and the noise. An avalanche, a big avalanche, is really, really noisy. And as the avalanche happens, you can see it first, and then you can hear it, because sound takes a little bit longer to travel than light. And then you can feel the wind of it. But luckily, I was never caught in an avalanche. So fingers crossed. I don't.
You hope that never does happen for you. Yeah. Miss Maxwell's class, if you guys have one for us, I'll come to you.
We absolutely do. Yeah.
What's the coolest, most interesting thing that you've ever seen?
No pressure.
What's the coolest thing I've seen? Oh my God, that's tough, because I've been in some really interesting situations in different places. I've seen some amazing sunsets. I've seen some amazing sunsets out in the ocean. But you know what? One of the coolest things I've ever managed to do is flying around the Statue of Liberty. It was a beautiful evening. It was very calm. And there were no other aircraft around. And I was looking at the New York City skyline thinking, wow, I'm here. I'm really doing it. And that was a pretty cool experience, I suppose. So to answer your question, there's loads of different things that I've seen, but that would be one of the highlights.
But I'm really, really happy, more so than the Statue of Liberty, that you highlighted sunsets. Like almost no one does this, because we have a lot of people on that have been in some of the most beautiful geographical places in the world. They've been out in the middle of an ocean, so they've had the chance to see animals and experiences that no one would have. But sunset is something that's accessible to all of us, and I think it's a nice message to look up at night. Sort of appreciate the colors, appreciate that every day when you get the chance. The best sunset I've ever seen in my life was on an overpass in Toronto near the home where I grew up. It was not in some epic, beautiful place, and I just stood for about 20 minutes, absolutely mesmerized and gobsmacked by that. So I'm glad that was thrown in there, James. Let's head for our final couple questions. I know we could go all day, folks, but Hickson grade 6s will head to you first, and Miss McNamara to wrap up after that. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Okay, they're coming over.
Did you ever doubt yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. Did I ever doubt myself? Hey, do you know something? I'm only a human being, okay? No different to any of you guys. And sometimes I still doubt myself now. But as you get older, you become more mature, you gain more experience, and you learn to become more confident. You start off small, and as you start achieving more, you start to think, maybe I can do these things. And, you know, when you doubt yourself, what you can do is just ask yourself, are you preparing enough? Are you putting the effort in? Do you feel you have sufficient help from people around you? So if you're doubting yourself, there's always things that you can do to improve your chances so you don't struggle so much. But everyone sometimes gets nervous and struggles with things, okay? And that's just part of life. But it's just how you deal with it. And as you get older and you experience and you do more, you will get more confident and you won't doubt yourself quite as much. So I hope that makes sense.
It does. And you highlighted again that if other people have done things, it's possible. And even
Absolutely.
if people haven't done things, but if someone has literally blazed a path before, what's to stop you from doing it? And I think that has underscored every one of the journeys that you've done, except for gyrocopter, which is entirely you. So kudos on that. I'm going to head to Miss McNamara. I know all our classes seem to have more questions, so we'll see if James has time for a third one in a minute, but we'll go to Miss McNamara first. And if you want to unmute, you're good to go.
All right. I have a question from Warren. He asks if you've ever been inside a cloud and what was it like?
Yeah. Have I ever been inside a cloud? Yeah, many. Okay, so imagine going out on a really foggy day when you're walking down the street and it's really, really, really foggy. It feels wet and you can hardly see in front of you. That's what it's like to be inside a cloud.
Yeah, I think, I mean, so walking around, we get all of this experience. If anyone's ever been on a flight, I know not every person's been on a plane, but if you get on a plane, you almost always go through a cloud layer on your way up till you get above them. And it's just, to this day, is one of the greatest experiences in life that you can have. James, I know we're going a little long. Are you good for another time, or would you rather me send? Okay, we'll head to our class.
Let's keep going.
One more round. Perfect. Ms. Ryder's class first. We'll head to you guys. Come on in. Hey.
Good, Charlie.
How many countries have you ever visited?
Hey, do you know something? I'm not counting. I don't know. I've been to quite a few. But one thing I do know, there is still many more that I need to visit. I've lost count.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's 197 countries in the world. There's very few people that have ever been to all of them. You're getting there slowly but surely. So.
Well, it's a longer term goal of mine. It would be awesome to get to that figure and say I've been to every country. How cool would that be? So, yeah.
Fantastic. Great question, guys. All right, DeWitt Middle School. We'll come back to you guys. Welcome in, Miss Maxwell's class.
Have you ever been pooped on by a bird while in a boat?
Have I ever been pooped on by a bird? Yes, I have many times. And did you know it's good luck? So don't worry about it if that happens.
This is what I tell myself. I've been hit 5 times in my life, which seems to be an uncanny amount for someone who has not been on a boat with birds surrounding him. So there you go. It takes all in that, students. Miss Ross's class will come to you guys. Hickson, McNamara to wrap up. Come on in and have a talk. Hey, guys.
I'm Georgia, and this is our question. How much money did it take to climb Mount Everest?
Oh, how much money did it cost to climb Mount Everest? I think I had to raise about $40,000 US. So it was quite a lot of money. But as I said, I managed to go out and I managed to get help to raise all that. So yeah, it was a lot, but it was possible.
It's one of the. It's even more now. It's one of the
It
more.
would be way more now.
Yeah, that people can do because you need to pay for the people that help make that happen. You showcase at night. You're climbing up sort of in the dark, and there are ropes set up. People need to set up those ropes. People need to make the camp. There's such a team element to it that is an essential part of the process. So I'm really glad we got that question. Miss Hickson's or Hickson grade 6s, come on back in, guys.
On over.
Hi.
Hello.
Have you been to France or gone scuba diving?
Yeah.
Have I been to France? I like that. That's interesting questions. Have I been to France and have I been scuba diving? Yes, I've been to France many, many times. My French is still not very good though, but even though I try. And have I been scuba diving? Yes, I have. I've been scuba diving in Thailand, in the Gulf of Thailand. It was amazing. But I haven't done any scuba diving for many years, so I'd like to do some more. It's like another whole world when you go below the ocean. Yeah.
I like to highlight for our classes, actually pretty much every one of our kids today, if you guys look up the Patty Bubble Maker course, by 8 years old, you can start in the path to becoming a scuba diver. So just basic things in a pool, and it opens up 70% of the world for you that otherwise is unavailable to you. So I think, I hope our classes take that chance to do that. James, one final question. We could go all day with this, and we have the longest presentation so far this year because of your exciting stuff. But Ms. McNamara, if you want to wrap us up with one final one, go for it.
All right. You told us about having pneumonia. Tyler would like to know if you've ever gotten seasick or frostbite or anything else.
Okay, Tyler, yes, I have had frostbite before, but luckily it wasn't too bad. All the tips of a couple of my fingers went black and the skin sort of dies. And I thought that there was a chance that I might lose the feeling. Luckily, the frostbite wasn't deep, so I didn't lose any like fingers or anything. But I have experienced some minor frostbite before, and I'm really lucky. I don't usually get seasick, though I have experienced it once, and it's really debilitating. It's quite hard. It's not very nice, but you can get over seasickness after a few days.
It must really be debilitating for you to say that it's debilitating, but you started out with, your fingers turn black, and that wasn't too bad at all. But
seasickness is worse. Yeah,
okay,
it can be, but you can get over it. There's good medication for it nowadays, and the trick is to try and stay up on the boat, look at the horizon, and it will pass.
Well, here's hoping on your sailing adventure around the world, which we
that'll be okay.
Before you get no seasickness whatsoever. I do,
and hopefully no frostbite.
No frostbite, hopefully, in the southern parts. I want to stress for our classes, I know you guys need to go in a second, jamesketchell.net at Captain Ketch. Again, thank you so much for being part of just a really special presentation. And Ketch,
you're so welcome.
As you know, what we do to end every broadcast, I'm going to bring in all our teachers and classes to say a big thank you and farewell. So Hickson grade 6s, Miss Ryder's class, Miss McNamara, and DeWitt Middle School, thank you all so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.